In this video, we're going to go through some questions to review our notes for Unit 4. If you would go ahead on number 10, change that 54 into a 56. And if we're reading it, it says that this table is showing the relationship between the number of teachers and students going on a field trip. How can you represent the relationship described as an equation? Well, we should know by now that if we're given two different variables or two different things, teachers, students, one is X and one is Y, and you're going to go ahead and put that into the calculator, into L1 and L2, in order to figure out what that equation is. Once it's in, we know that this is linear. There's a constant thing happening here. Stat over to calc, and number 4, that equation is y equals 7x plus 21. Okay. 11, we're looking at the cost that a painter is painting depending on the number of hours it takes to paint the house. It was very kind, and it gave us an equation. The cost that they're making $10 an hour plus $235. I want that total cost, so I'm looking for C. If the painter wants 22.25 hours of work. Okay, so I'm going to take this 22.25, and since it's telling me it's hours, it's going in for the H variable. C equals 10 times 22.25. Don't forget to add that $235. So 10 times 22.25, just moving that decimal over 2 places, plus 235. That cost for that amount of time will be $457.50. Just plugging in that number for H, giving me the cost. 12 is fairly similar. It's giving us the function rule for the profit the company is going to earn. P is the profit, M is the number of months that they've been in business. How much profit? See, there's your question, so I'm looking for P, given that they were working 16 months in business. P is what I'm finding. I'm plugging in 16 into my months. Don't forget to add that initial amount of money. So 1,000 times 16 plus 3,500. Their profit for 16 months in business is $19,500. Hopefully that's not a very big company, because that wouldn't be a whole lot of money. But if it's a little side business, that works pretty good. Okay, number 13. Jerome travels on the highway, sets his cruise control at 55 miles an hour, and it gives you that function. We read this as f of x. It's no different than saying y equals or p equals. It's just another way to write a function. So it's 55 miles per hour. That's why it's being multiplied. It represents his total distance. So basically, this f of x is your distance when he has traveled x hours. So this could have easily had been written distance equals 55h. 55 times the number of hours. So that's saying the same thing. How many miles? Oh, there's the question. Miles, that's distance. Will he have traveled after 4.5 hours of driving? It said that x was hours, so it gets plugged in for x. Not in this x, not in this f of x. That's just like saying the distance. It's 55 times 4.5. This distance here, this hours here is the only x that it gets plugged in for. 55 times 4.5. That total distance, or that function of x, is 247.5 miles. All right, an airplane was flying at an altitude of 45,000 feet when it began its descent. That's going down towards an airport. The airplane is descending at a rate of 350 feet per minute. Notice here this 350 is with a per minute thing, guys. That is our rate of change. what is the function rule that describes this? So I have that rate of change, but there's a couple things I need to be mindful of. This is descending, it's going down. Okay, that's so important that that's a negative 350 because your airplane is going downhill or going down to land on the ground. You also need to be mindful of putting where are they starting at? They're starting at, since we're talking about this, at 45,000 feet. So we have to have that 45,000 feet as our initial value. It is not wrong to put this in front. We just traditionally see the variable before that initial value. And you can just have a y equals in front. Or f equals if you wanted to use f for function, either way. Okay. Number 15 is an inequality. We're solving it just like an equation. We're subtracting 6 on both sides. I'm left with 3x is less than 12. And dividing both sides by 3. X has to be less than 4. 16, a movie store is selling DVDs for $13 each. So we're looking at the cost of the end DVDs. If it's per DVD, it's each of them. That is multiplication. The only answer choice that offers a multiplication with 13 and n is B. In 17, we're going to write the recursive formula for this following sequence. Notice that this sequence is going down 10 each time. So looking at your answer choices, even if you knew nothing about a recursive formula, you know that you can see a sequence of something being negative going on, then you should look, well, okay, all of these things are the same except for that very last number. And which one has a negative 10? That negative difference is right there, D. 18, we have to find the 13th term in a sequence. I'm already given the first, second, third, and fourth term. So what would be helpful to me, since I'm not having to start here, I would set up a table for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. And I would go through, it's a lot of work, but it is the easiest way to determine what that 13th term is, okay? And now the next thing I have to look at is, all right, what's happening to each of these? How do I go from 305 to 280, and then from 280 to 255? From 255 to 230. I'm going down 25 each time, right? So that I'm going to keep subtracting 25 in my calculator. So I'm starting at 230, that's the fourth term, and I'm going down 25. Not 20, 25. That's 205. Minus 25 again, 180. And you just keep going. If you couldn't see that beginning there, sorry about that. 105. And there we are. The 13th term in the sequence is 5.